So greetings to, please, a gentle reminder, please mute your microphones on Zoom. And then you can see on the side, if you have questions or comments, you can use the chat box and to type your questions. Please remember to write your name down, and then I will get them to you at the end of my presentation. Thank you. So as you all know, and some of you don't know, my name is Wenyi Yang. I'm a graduate student at TESOL Program at San Francisco State University. So welcome to my presentation titled Evolution of Professional Identity, a Malaysian Chinese Teacher of English Journey to Becoming a TESOL Professional. So this whole capstone project is basically talking about my growth and my identity surrounding my as an ESL teacher, as a TESOL professional. So first of all, I like to clarify the concept of teacher identity. There are a lot of definitions. So a teacher's identity can encompasses the goals, the beliefs, the emotions, the standards, and how the teacher perceives themselves and how the teacher see others perceive them, such as their students, such as their colleague, and knowledge of the teacher and their teaching practices. So, but it does not limit to just teaching. It's also your core identity is also along with it. So I really love this definition of teacher identity. Identity highlights how an individual mediates teaching, drawing upon different arrays of social positioning, experiences, and resources to enact their professional selves in particular ways. I really love this, and it really is something that I hope today, with 20 minutes, I can show you. So let's begin. So next, for professional identity, it's been recent years, is autoethnography is the approach used to talk about teachers' professional identity. So autoethnography is actually a storytelling, a form of storytelling or self-narrative. And then the researcher themselves in this approach is also a participant in the study. The whole research is basically about themselves. They use their experiences, they use their voices, and to become the central focus of the research or the topic of investigation. All right. So this definition here, using the subjective self, I really love this, subjective self as the site of struggle and the medium for knowledge production. So first, before I go on, I like to say that I think throughout my years growing up as a TESOL teacher, I think the reason why I do this research on myself about myself is because I really want to just understand how I have grown as a teacher. You know, I have studied so much about strategy, I have learned about students, but I really just want to know about myself, because when I enter the classroom, I'm bringing so much about me into that classroom. And I realized that when I go into classroom, my belief, my perception, my action, my behaviors are everything about me. So it affects my teaching and learning environment. That's why I really wanted to do this, so that I have a clear sense of who I am as a teacher and what sort of beliefs that I'm bringing that shapes me as a teacher. So autoethnography is basically, first of all, auto is self, as I mentioned just now, and ethno is actually culture. So this study, besides turning her or his gaze inward, it also maintains the observer gaze outward, while examining the larger social context in which experiences of the self occur. So besides just looking at I'm also doing the culture analysis and also doing a lot of interpretations around relying on all these elements that I have just mentioned. So one thing that I really love about autoethnography is that one part that I did for this research project is I trace back to how it all begins and who today I became as a teacher. So this is really a very important thing that the reason why I did autoethnography. And then autoethnography approach allows one person to have this transformation from what I believe about teaching to why I believe what I believe about teaching. I still remember 730, which is Introduction to Graduate Studies. I was asked what I believe about teaching, why I believe, it was really hard for me. My answer was very, 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 very narrow or very surface. And I think I avoided going into that because it took so much emotional toll in me that I just tend to just keep on that surface, right? So the methodology of autoethnography, you can use a lot of ways. What I did was I used one of the methods, which is tracking back from the point I started this journey to today. So I do a lot of reflective writing, a lot of free write, and I trace back all my journals and my reflections. What I post on the site on iLearn, which is our SF State education website, and then I then look at this, and then I formed a timeline. And then I also look at the literature. So hold on tight, ladies and gentlemen, okay? I'm bringing you, so I know that you guys are missing your travel. Today, you're gonna travel with me through time, space, and context. So I come from Malaysia. I'm a Malaysian. Malaysia is located at that spot there. And one thing about Malaysia is that we are multicultural, multiracial, and multilingual. Average Malaysians can speak up to 3 to 4 languages, and in terms of dialects. So I am a Chinese Malaysian. I'm a Malaysian as nationality. I'm a Malaysian, but ethnicity-wise, I am a Chinese. So a lot of times I get questioned like, why am I not a Malay? So I just felt like this is to clarify that in Malaysia, there are a lot of different races and a lot of different ethno-linguistic cultures too. So in Malaysia, we have our own Malaysian English. It's a very legitimate and recognized form of English variety. And in Malaysian English itself, we have a variety of Malaysian English. So starting from Acrolec, which is Malaysian Standard English. One thing to know that Malaysia is, before that was colonized by British. And there was one time that the administrative language was in English, but today Malay is the national language. However, English is still widely, is very active in the society, in Malaysia society. So we have our standard English called Malaysian Standard English. It conforms to standard British English. It's near native level of proficiency in English, and it's internationally intelligible or comprehensible. So while the other one, Mesolec, is more like a localized form of English, it's unofficial, it's informal. There are deviations from standard English, but I think we used the standard British English, and then we add in our own culture in there. So that's like Mesolec, right? And then Mesolec is Manglish. So this is widely known for Malaysian English. It's called the bad English, the broken English. Users with limited proficiency and vocabulary in English tries to use the language to communicate. So what happened is, the range is depends on the formality. and the intelligibility of the variety. And actually, what I wanted to emphasize is how Malaysian are you when you use this variety. So that's how Malaysian sees, and people do code switch between Manglish and standard Malaysian English. So one thing I could give some examples is, this is some examples. I will be doing a switched, so don't be surprised. Okay, so for example, this guy really can flip one. Is it very jam now? Can you repeat again? He arrived already. See first lah. See how lah. This one can or not? Okay okay lah. Okay meh? Okay lah. Pas dapat satu. So these are some examples. And I wouldn't go into the details because I don't. But if you're interested, you can ask me. Okay, we do. What happened is our English. We incorporate this different variety and colorful language into this variety, so that you can see that. So now let's start with how it all began. Like how it all began is when I was very young, like 4 or 5 years old, my mom decided to send me to Cosmonaut's IQD, which is this center. It's a language center. It's outside of school. It's not inside of school. It's outside of school. You have to pay extra for English, for more focused English education. And then what happened is she was saying that I was in kindergarten and I'm not making my English. I was in A for apple, B for bat, C for cat. And then what happened is, okay, so okay, I'm getting very nervous, but it's okay. So what happened is after Cosmonaut, I built my love for, in 1 year, they guaranteed that I could read. So in 1 year, I was reading from Oliver Twist, Treasure Island, Phantom of the Opera, and then my greatest achievement at 12 years old was reading Gone with the Wind. So I see English as a very, very powerful tool for me, and I have been very, very confident in English. I'm very comfortable in English. I really have this. I really felt very comfortable in it, that I use it in like reading books. But so for me, if in terms of my different languages that I have, English is my number one. I'm competent. I'm in English. However, my language, which is Cantonese or Mandarin, is not as competent as my English. And then my Malay is also, so in Malaysia, I'm called the banana. So banana is actually, we refer to Malaysians who doesn't know their own native language. And actually, I am a half banana, I wanted to say, because I do know how to use Chinese. So I'm not a full banana, I'm a half banana, okay? So Wenyi's best friend is English, Wenyi's future English teacher. So I then realized that I really wanted to teach, because I find English is a very powerful tool, and I really wanted to help a lot of people to gain this access to this language so that they can succeed in this global world. So I decided to pursue my Bachelor of Education. I specialize in teaching English as a second language. I learned about teaching. I went into professional development. I taught in non-mainstream schools, to mainstream schools, big schools, small organizations, and I was drilled with a lot of lesson planning, and I created a lot of materials. So I did a lot of projects, and I graduated. So I have to look at my time. Okay, yes. Okay, so I graduated with a bachelor degree. Yay! So with my language identity, which I was very confident, I was like, English. Okay, the thing is, for me, is I only see English as my strength. there's nothing else I can see as my strength. So for my future, I can only see using English as a way, you know. So, and then I have this English language teacher identity that I'm really, really happy about and very passionate about. I want to become a teacher. And then I took the IELTS to come to United States, and I scored. I was state as a proficient user of the English language, and I also scored 9. Band 9 is the top for reading. So that was really something that I wanted to show, is because I wanted to tell you how confident or how I felt about English. English is my everything. I read in English, and then I came to America. Yay. And then what happened is, I started my SSFU life, okay? And then I never know that I would, that would be a part that, that would happen. So I still remember when I started the program, I felt like I lost my voice in the classroom. So before I come to United States, classroom participation was widely, like during the orientation, they told me that I have to participate in classroom. So I look at participation as number one, to see myself as a competent member in that society, in that classroom. So I was striving to participate in the classroom, but I wasn't making it. I lost my voice. I wrote a narrative around this, talking about my feelings when I wanted to participate, how I would struggle, and in the end, I felt ashamed in the classroom. So Morita 2004, Negotiating Participation and Identity in Second Language Academic Communities, is a really good read if you really want to look at other women's, other TESOL international students' feelings. This is something that you can see too. I wanted to say that for me, it doesn't really register to me in the beginning when I was like, am I a non-native speaker? I didn't know, because we talk about non-native speaker as if it's something like students, you know. And I then realized when I communicate with my peers, and then, and I realized when my friends tell me, because you're a native speaker, so you don't. And then my ability in the language was being questioned, and I was really struggling. And then for some time, I became really silent in the classroom. I always see that I can speak English, you know. So the question was, am I a native speaker or am I a non-native speaker? So if I ask you, am I a native speaker or am I a non-native speaker? Hold your answer, right? But if the definition is defined as someone who has learned a language in childhood, then how would you define me? However, I am not labeled as a native English speaker. I am more in terms of a non-native English speaker because of my name, my appearance, and how I speak with an accent. So I realized there is a difference between how we weigh these two different terms. And so what happened is, so then later I realized my best strength was in English, and it felt like I'm no longer competent as an English teacher, and my future and dreams is just like collapse in front of me. And I have this really complex, I had this identity crisis when I came here, because my language was constantly being questioned. So for example, I'm a Chinese, but I'm not proficient in Chinese. So I can't feel proud, you know. And now English, the only strength that I had is no longer something that I can be proud of, because I felt like it's no longer mine. So, but one thing was, I realized at the end of the first semester, I cannot continue to be like that. I need to change. And I realized a lot of my beliefs were being questioned. So I questioned my beliefs. I realized they were holding me back. And then once again, I became more silent, but this time, because I realized that what I believed about myself, what I believe about my environment in my second language, in the academic discourse, was all about myself. It's my perspective about myself. It's pulling me back. So I became silent. This time is to observe as an observer. So I decided to let go a lot of my beliefs, and I decided to pursue professional development, because for me, I realized that I needed to change. I just needed to know that I'm able to teach. So I started off, so I know that the only thing I can change was my ability to teach, I really thought that I felt like I have a very lack of experience. And then, but when I came here, I felt that everyone was very experienced. So what happened is I felt like, oh my goodness, I'm in this small fish in this big shark bowl. And then I felt like I can't do this. I cannot go back like this. I cannot go back to Malaysia like this. I came too far, and I exercise my personal agency. So that means that I use whatever resources I have, whatever I can take. I took on every opportunities I can so that I can be better in terms of teaching English. Okay, 23, okay. For me today, I really realized that today my language identity and my English language teacher identity it evolved due to my experiences, and that really really reflect on my teaching. So today, if you ask me, native English speaker teacher, I think we picked out those things that measures, and then I think what I see from my peers, they taught me that we are all teacher of English. We are striving to teach. We are striving just to teach, we are all in this together. And today I really felt like I went through this amazing journey. And today I am equipped with a lot of strategies, and because of my experiences last time when I was in my first semester, I was able to understand things about English, and that really impact how I talk with my student, how I communicate with them, and how I teach language. And so, okay. So I would like to, first of all, thank my mother, because if it's not her, I wouldn't be here. So thank you, Mommy. It's Mommy Days coming. Okay, and then I would like to personally thank Dr. A, because throughout this process, she has been very understanding about my journey, my writing process, and thank you, Dr. A. Okay. So, I just want to tell you, I know I couldn't really express everything I wanted. I have been drilling this yesterday night, but eventually I ran out of time again. So I just wanted to say that if you're interested to know my journey, look at my paper. My name is Wenyi Yang. 我的名字是杨文义。I'm a teacher of English, a TESOL professional. Thank you for being here with me today. Thank you so much. So, okay. I know I went out of time again. I have 3 minutes for Q&A. Oh my goodness. So, I think you guys can unmute yourself if you guys want to I have any questions, but I look at my chat.
When you have a question, chat, So thank you so much. This was excellent. And autoethnography is perfect as a framework to talk about what you're doing. I love the visuals. I kept thinking about linguistic landscapes from last spring and how a lot of your visuals sort of bring back all of those things from Blomart that we were reading. You presented this binary of native, non-native, which is often contested and problematized. And I'm kind of curious, have you kind of, why those particular binary? Do you see something different from yourself? Do you see sort of a third space, if you will? How do you, how has autoethnography kind of taken you past that particular binary to frame how you see yourself as a person and also as a teacher?
So I wanted to really show I wasn't able to see myself in that definition. One is native and one is non-native. If we define the term as people who live in America, they are called native. That's why they're a native speaker. I can understand because I'm from Malaysia. I didn't know where to put myself. I have always having difficulty to put myself in terms of these labels that people keep on putting outside. And I told you in your class, I really mentioned before, I never know which label I can use. And I realized in the end, I just felt like in the end as a teacher, the only thing that I know is that I really love teaching. That's the only thing that I.
Yeah, while you cry, can I say one more thing? No, I want to kind of partly respond to Dr. Coles's comment, but also what I'm feeling so profoundly after listening to you is it shouldn't be the MA-TESOL applicant's job to lay claim to one of those labels. It's the system's job to do do some better work and some better communication of what these terms are meaningless today. I mean, if just from going from James's presentation to the way we were talking about multilingualism earlier in the morning, these labels are meaningless. And you've reminded me, as much as I know you, I didn't know 60% of your history. And it makes me think, one, every student coming into a teacher training program should do this kind of work, not only for their own reflection, but also to communicate to their program, this is who I am as a teacher. This is how I understand who I am. And I'm just really grateful that you've punctuated my understanding of Marita's article in a much different and more profound way. So congratulations, Wenyi. I think your presentation has done exactly its job for us.
Thank you, Dr. Santos. Yeah, it's been a very vulnerable journey, looking back and then coming to today. I think I just felt like for me, labels are labels. I think Dr. A and I talked before, and then people are going to judge us or talk about us. But in the end, I think I just wanted to express that, we are all teacher of Englishes. We are able to teach English. And for me, the reason why I do this presentation is because I want people to know that, to know in terms of a second language experiences, and also to understand that if you're struggling in a second language, there is under this assumption about you just have to shift yourself away. And then I felt like I came so long, and today I realized that I made it. I did not stay like how sad and pathetic I felt I was in my first semester. I make sure that I'm not that today, and I really wanted to hopefully share this, that you are not alone, because I never knew. I always felt I was different. I always felt I was alone until the fourth of the fifth semester, when I went through all these articles around this area, and suddenly I felt like, okay, I can, this is something that I wish people who are in the first semester can see, and this is something that I really hope they can do. Everyone can do. This is really can tell you a lot about yourself.
Thank you, Wenyi.